Good morning, guys. It's pretty early. Um, Normally, I wake up, go straight to my truck, and start this and make coffee. But since I'm in the luxurious hotel for the night, I got my coffee going in a coffee maker, and I jumped in the shower for about 5 minutes, kind of let it get on me. Didn't get my hair wet, um, as you could tell, but I just let it just stood there in the water, and it felt great. Such a great way to start the day, a hot shower. I'm not used to that, but I guess as far as my tiny house goes, like I started thinking, you know, what are the big reasons why you would go tiny? I've been getting asked a lot, saying, well, what really made you decide to go tiny? Basically, what made me want to go tiny most of all is staying minimal. I want a minimal lifestyle, I guess, because I don't need a lot of clothes. I don't need, a lot of objects. Mainly the things that I truly enjoy are tools and like instruments to play and my camera stuff. Other than that, I don't need an Xbox or a PlayStation or a huge TV or I don't know what people buy. But I don't really need all that personally for me. If you like it, that's cool. But for me, I don't really need all that. I haven't had a TV in a long time, a really, really long time. So the last time I had a TV was when we lived with Jared, and then we moved to the ranch for 3 months, and then I've been up here. So for 7, 8 months now, I haven't owned a TV. It's really not that bad. If I need to see anything or whatever, I have a phone, and I think I've watched in the last 4 months that I've been in Oklahoma. I've watched one movie on my phone. Um, I don't know. The stuff's just not into that like I used to be. But that's one thing is I don't really need objects. I don't need to buy these things or anything. So I don't need a lot of space. And then two, it's obvious. It's cheaper to build a tiny house than a huge house. So if that's the case, you build it as you have the money and you don't really get into debt. You don't have a mortgage when you're finished. You just it just makes more sense financially to go tiny if you don't need a lot of space and you're cool with a small space. Tiny house is the way to go because I don't know the total cost of what it's going to be at the end whenever my tiny house is finished, but I'm going to say somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. It's a lot of money, but it's not at the same time. So pretty much I used to rent a house or an apartment and we were paying roughly $1,000 a month up to $1,200 and $1,300 a month. And we lived there. Okay, so we lived in a house for 4 years and we paid $1,200 a month. And then I think the last year went up to $1,300 a month. That's a lot of money. So within 1 year of living in the house, I could have paid for this entire tiny house and never had to pay a house payment again. So that's kind of where I'm at with this is, you know, if I could build it as I go and not have a mortgage, that's a lot of money in my pocket, which means two different things. I keep doing the same thing I'm doing and make as much money as I'm making. So I can just keep stacking away that money because I won't have a house payment, right? So let's just say, I'm just gonna throw it out there. This isn't right, but just to make it easy, let's say I made $1,000 a month, um, extra after my normal car payment and all that stuff. I have $1,000 a month left over. Well, if I'm having to use $1,000 a month to put that into a house, I'm broke. But if the house is already finished and I've already built it as a tiny house and I have $1,000 a month and I put that aside, that's $12,000 a year that is now mine. And so I could either say, now I have $12,000 at the end of the year in my savings, or if I'm still cool with living more on the broke side, that's $12,000 less I have to make. So now I can work less. I don't have to work as often, which is freedom, which is retirement. So basically, that's my third thing here is I'm trying to retire at a young age. And of course, you have to have some type of investment, some type of money saved, or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of where I'm going with this is whatever I can get in this tiny house and then, you know, not have to pay any more payments. By the end of this year, I want to be completely debt free. I want my truck paid off. I really don't have a whole lot of bills. I get rid of, I have no credit cards, nothing of that nature. I want to get rid of my truck payment and then any other little payments I have that I can get rid of other than my normal like cell phone bill and car insurance. Other than that, I don't have a water bill, I don't have an electric bill, I don't have a mortgage. I pay $18 a year in taxes for that property, so a little over $1 a month to live there. It's really not a lot of money at all, so it gives me that freedom. And then the last reason why I want a tiny house is you can build it the way you want because you can't have a tiny house in the middle of the city anyways, so because codes and all that. So you move out somewhere, you can build it how you want, and then the cool thing is say you want granite countertops. I don't, but let's say you do. So instead of this huge kitchen that's the size of this whole hotel room, and you're going to spend just thousands upon thousands of dollars on granite countertops, in a tiny house, you may only need 4 feet. So instead of getting 30 feet of counter space, you only need 4 feet. So it's still the same nice granite, you just need less. And then same thing with floors. Maybe you want real hardwood floors. In a huge house, you're going to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars. Because say you need, 2,000 to 5,000 square feet of hardwood floors. That's a lot of money. But now if you're building a tiny house and you only need 100 square feet, you're saving a ton of money, but you're still getting the nice hardwood floors. So you're still getting the nice house that you want. You can have a tiny house that's super modern, super luxurious. You can have every high-end countertops, flooring, cabinets, everything in a tiny house. Just be smaller and way cheaper than a huge house. And, you have to spend more money. So that's basically it. That's the big reasons why tiny houses are cool in my opinion. And realistically for me, and I think this is what people don't realize, is I'm outside 99% of the time that I'm awake. And that's the reality of it. So pretty much from the time I wake up, other than today, because I'm in a hotel, but if the time I wake up, I get out of the tent and I don't step back in the tent until I go to sleep. Other than that, I am outside building, doing whatever I'm doing. I edit in my truck, so technically I'm still outside. I'm not in my tent, so everything I do is outside of my tent. So it's pretty much gonna be the same thing when I have the tiny house built. Everything that I do will pretty much be outside, and I will then edit in the tiny house. But other than that, I'm outside building. Hopefully after this next year, I'll be settled in. I'll have a garden. I'll have way more animals. I'm going to get my chickens and goats and stuff. Of course, all this lockdown stuff kind of threw that out of a loop. But, I'm going to be doing a lot more of the homesteading side of things, if you want to call it that. I don't really like putting it, I guess, a title on it. I don't think I'm a homesteader. I don't think, I don't know. I don't think I'm a house builder. I don't think I'm an off-grader. I don't think I am, I don't know, whatever all these, um, channels and people call themselves. I'm just Jason Crocker trying to live my life. It just happens that I like some off-grid stuff. I like some homesteading stuff. I like gardening, all this stuff. I like it all. I'm just living a normal life in my eyes. There's nothing wrong. Like Arms Family Homestead. There's nothing wrong with his name having homestead. We were the Crocker Homestead. I am not bashing that at all. I know some of you probably take it that way. It's not. I'm just a normal dude trying to live a normal life, the best life I possibly can. And next year, whenever I'm settled in more and I can have a garden and animals and hopefully a decent size like workshop that I can build. I absolutely love building. It's it's pretty hard building an entire tiny house, but I enjoy building like furniture. I like to build benches and coolers and home decor stuff, and we would take old truck tailgates and make benches out of that. I'd make farm tables. I mean, I've done a lot, and I enjoy that stuff, but I lost interest because it was my job. So I was constantly building for other people, and I like to build for myself. So hopefully I can get to that. But that's the whole point of going tiny is once I get that house finished, after that I can do whatever I want because I'll be debt free, mortgage free, no bills. It's gonna be awesome. I can spend all my time and my money on my passions and what I want. And that can pretty much kind of be my retirement is, you always see on the side of the roads these old men that build birdhouses or benches or whatever, they're selling them because they're retired. They spend their time at home building this stuff because they enjoy it, but then they need to make a little bit of money back and they want to meet people and stuff. So they go sit on the side of the road, they sell them, they make a little bit of money back. They use that money, they put it back in the building. So they're not making a living off of it. They're making their money back to build the next project. And it's just kind of one of those things. And that's kind of what I want to do whenever I retire at a young age. I'm 34. I hope to be completely over the top retired by 40. I think it's going to be way before that. But that's my goal here is by 40 years old to be completely retired where I don't have to do anything. I have all the money I need to survive the rest of my life. I have the house, I have the land, I have everything I possibly need to retire. And hopefully that's my goal. But that's like the big reasons why I'm doing a tiny house. I've been asked a lot. What the biggest reasons why going tiny, because a lot of people want to know, you know, well, should I leave my big house? Should I convince my family? I'm young. Should I do this at an early age? That's for you to decide. I can't tell you why. This is just why I did it. And I think anyone at any age should do it, in my opinion. You don't need a huge house. You don't need, all this stuff to really survive. I grew up in a really nice house, and it was very, very tiny. I talked about this before. The house was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. My dad built on my parents' bedroom, and then we built an upstairs and garage. And I mean, I grew up in a nice house. My dad worked hard, my mom worked hard, and they helped us grow up in a big house. And then when I moved out on my own, I worked hard and I lived in really nice places. I lived in some really bad apartments and stuff too, don't get me wrong, but I worked hard and I lived in some nice places. And I started to realize, why am I spending all this money on all this space that I don't use? Like we'd have a dining room table, and the dining room table would sit there in the kitchen or in the dining room because we thought that's what you had to do, but then never used it. It just collect dust. So it's like, why do we have a dining room for one, and why do we have a dining room table for two? We never use both. So what if you cut that out? And then you start thinking, all right, why do I even have a bedroom? I only go in there to sleep and put my clothes on the closet. So why do I have a bedroom? So I'm like, what if I cut that off? All right, so you need a little living room and you need a kitchen and a bathroom. That's pretty much it. And then I always would, the house we lived in the city, we were in the backyard, had a nice sized backyard for the city. We were always in the backyard underneath the patio and then just be outside. So that's kind of what brought me into the tiny house thing was I don't really need to be inside a lot. I don't need a lot of space. Tiny house makes perfect sense. So that's kind of my reasoning. And I did research for, oh man, I researched tiny homes, homesteading, all that stuff before we moved out to the property Jared's at right now for about 2 years and saved up money that we could. That was very hard. We were pretty broke at the time. But we researched and researched and researched for 2 years before buying the land and going. We looked at a bunch of different properties. We talked about different ways to build a house. We were going to do the tiny house in the very beginning. We bought all the windows. We, started looking for building materials. We were going to do everything on a huge, huge budget. I mean, well, on a tight budget, my bad. We're going to do everything on a very, very tight budget. And my ex and I, we would go to all these, like, I don't even know what they were. There's like warehouses that were like, hey, it's open to the public. You can come get what you want. These are scraps. And if not, it's going to the dumpster. So we'd go and just get random tile, random glass, blocks, random fabric, random pieces of wood, random flooring. And we were going to build an entire house from that. And then we opted out of that whenever Jared kind of came in the picture. And we were like, all right, so Jared's now in the picture with us building this house. We need to go a little bit bigger. What can we do? And then we started thinking of shed to house. So we did the shed to house. And then, which worked out perfectly because Jared's in it. It's a lot of room for him. And he set up perfect. I wouldn't trade anything that we did with that because that taught me a lot of building skills. And then Jared is living there. So it's awesome. And it kind of gave me the freedom, because Jared lives there now, to leave and build the tiny house I wanted. So it worked out. So I got pretty fortunate with that. But all right, guys, that was a long time for me to be rambling. If you made it this long, I appreciate it. I don't get to do very, very long videos often anymore because my service is so bad. But I figured while I was here in the hotel, I could go into a little more detail. But I hope you guys have an awesome day. I'm putting a video out here shortly on the Crockers. And it's going to be a little different than my normal videos. But you may have seen it. You may have not already seen some of the stuff. If you have, I apologize. If you haven't, maybe I'll put it into perspective of a lot of what I'm saying with this and what I'm doing. And yeah, you'll just see that. So I hope y'all have an awesome day. I'm going to take another shower. I'm going to eat some breakfast. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start building. So have a good day, guys.